Are you making $1 million early retirement mistake?
We're John and Bev, and we are the Retirement Travelers.
In today's video, I'm going to go over 8 common spending mistakes that people make that absolutely crush the retirement savings. Now, I kind of have to hang my head in shame because we are kind of experts in this category because we have made every one of these. And we don't want the same for you. Okay. Fortunately, though, we were able to nip it in the bud and we didn't prolong the pain of how much money we were wasting by doing some of these mistakes. So in each one of these today, what we're going to do is try to quantify how much these mistakes can impact your retirement savings. Mistake number 1 is buying expensive toys. And some examples of this might be an RV, a boat, a four-wheeler, jet skis, snowmobiles, those types of things that are pretty large, expensive toys. Now, I'm not saying every one of these is a bad thing. You know, I know people that love to fish. They have a bass boat and they go out multiple times a week. That's really not what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm also know people that are retired and have an RV. Heck, we did that. And they go around the country full time, utilize their RV every day. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of mistake we made, okay? It is buying an expensive toy like a boat and really only using it a few times a year. And I know that I'm not the only story out there like that because, you know, one of the things I always hear about boats is the happiest day is when you buy one and the next happiest day is when you sell one. Well, let me tell you our story. We bought a boat about 10 years ago, nice ski boat, and we were living on a river and we thought we're going to use this thing all the time. Well, to make a long, painful story short, 10 years later, after paying taxes, insurance, maintenance, lugging it around to 4 different locations and using it, you know, a handful of times each year, we finally sold the boat and it pretty much cost us a fortune to do that. And I know other people that have bought snowmobiles and jet skis and other toys. It always sounds like a great idea when you buy it. But in the long run, all these costs add up. So in this example, let's say you buy a $40,000 boat or other expensive toy and you keep it for 10 years. And let's make an assumption that you spend $4,000 a year on maintenance and taxes and upkeep of this equipment, okay? If you would have taken that $40,000 and invested it and then added in that $4,000 a year, in 10 years at a 6% long-term stock market return, you would have had $150,000. So the next time you think about buying that expensive toy, think about what your options are and how that could impact your savings. The second big mistake is buying too much house. Now, as a retiree looking back, guess what? Hindsight is always 20/20. But buying bigger houses or buying smaller houses in our case could have changed our whole trajectory for retirement. You know, you don't realize it at the time. You know, this is where a lifestyle creep really starts kicking in. You get a promotion, you move, you have kids. You justify all the reasons why you need that little bit bigger house with an extra room and an extra slot in the garage in a little nicer neighborhood with a little better view, and you justify why you can afford this. Well, that lifestyle creep can really add up. And if we had it to do over, guess what? We would not have done it. We realize now that we did not need the bigger houses. And, you know, it was interesting. A couple years ago, we took a long RV trip around the country and we were living in 250,000 square, I mean, not 250,000, 250 square feet in an Airstream. And we had lived in good sized homes our entire life. And we thought, what's it going to be like living in 250 square feet? Guess what? We had a great time and no big issues. So we kind of learned from that experience that we didn't need that. And I wish we would have had some of that learning, you know, maybe 20 years earlier. So, you know, if you look at the size of your home, let's say you had a 25 years of living in a home bigger than you needed, okay? I'm just going to do an estimate of about $500 a month might cover extra furnishings, extra taxes, extra maintenance, extra insurance. It's very easy, extra interest from your mortgage. All those things add up. If that's an extra $500 a month over 25 years, that could add up to around $330,000 over 25 years. That's a big chunk of retirement savings. The third item I'm going to call all the little things. Why? Because all the little things add up to the big things. And what I'm talking about is the Starbucks coffee, the stop at the convenience store, going to lunch rather than taking your lunch, impulse buys at the grocery store by not having a list. Now, we've made all of these. Some of the things that we've done when we go to a gas station, let's grab a Coke and some chips or something. We pay extra for that. When we take your kids out to a restaurant and get Cokes, wow, that adds up we have 7 of us in our family with 5 kids. That'd be another $15 or $20 just with Cokes. We finally said, kids, no more Cokes, it's water. So it would have to be a celebration to get a Coke. So you get the point. It's all the little things that add up. And just spending $25 a week or saving $25 a week, if you invested that over the course of your lifetime rather than spending it on junk pretty much, at a 6% stock market return, that's $100,000. So think about that, $25 a week invested at 6% for 30 years is $100,000. The fourth mistake I'll call Junior is still on the payroll. And what I mean by that is, are you still funding your adult children, well beyond high school and college? And this is something that I know is a touchy subject with people, but we just strongly believe you want to try to raise your kids to be independent and know about money, because if they're always dependent on you, where does it stop? Do you buy them cars in high school? Do you help them with college? Do you go help them with grad school? Do you buy them the first car? Do you keep them when they come back after college? Where does it end and when do they become independent? And so in this example, I just want to give you a few examples. Let's say that you buy them a car or help them with a car. Maybe that's $20,000. Maybe their wedding, they have an extravagant wedding and you get the extra bill of $10,000. Perhaps they go to grad school and you help them out with another $20,000. That's $50,000 right there. Say you have a couple kids, boom, that's another $100,000 that you could have in your retirement savings. Number 5 is the second home money pit. And I have to tell you, this is the most painful one for us. We had this dream going into retirement that we were going to be snowbirds. I mean, it just sounds like a great thing. I'm a snowbird. I go live in the warm in the winter. It sounds like such a wonderful thing until you realize you have 2 homes. And when we had 2 homes, what we found basically is we had 2 of everything. And it really snowballed. We were paying 2 HOA fees. We were paying utilities at both places. We were paying to keep up lawns. Going back and forth, it's like, well, maybe we should buy an extra set of bicycles because they're kind of a pain to lug back and forth. All those things we did not realize when we thought about this dream of being snowbirds and having a home in Kentucky and a home in Florida. Finally, we realized this is just not for us. We did it for a few years. We learned some painful lessons, and finally we sold the house in Kentucky and got down to 1. And our experience was that you could probably spend about $12,000 a year, believe it or not. It was $1,000 a month extra cost when you add in taxes, insurance, maintenance, upkeep, HOAs, furnishings, travel. It's pretty bad, and that can lead to well over $300,000. If you did that for 15 years, believe me, it's painful. Number 6 is paying state taxes. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, I live in a state where they require state income taxes. What do I do? Well, there are 9 states that do not have to pay state income tax. Now, we lived most of our adult life in Indiana, where I'd say it's a medium range state income tax. When we moved to New York, ouch. New York is very high with state income taxes. A few years after that, we moved to Tennessee, and it's like, wow, we went from like 10% to 0%. It was nice. Now, if you have the ability to work remotely or move to a state that is a low tax state or no income tax state, just think about how much you could save if you took that money rather than paying the state and invested it in the stock market. Good things might happen. So let's just say you averaged an $80,000 salary and you could reduce your state taxes by 4% over 30 years. That would be $250,000 you would have in your retirement savings after 30 years. Would you rather have it there or paying a state? The number 7 mistake is making bad choices with cars. Now, I recently read a statistic that most people will own 8 to 10 cars throughout their entire lifetime. Now, this gives you 8 to 10 chances to make good decisions. Do you buy a new car versus a used car? How long do you keep your car? Do you maintain it well? All of those things can add up to a lot financially. Now, I'll share you a story. When our oldest daughter met her future fiance, he picked her up in a Toyota Camry that had about 300,000 miles. Now, he could afford more, but he didn't. He just took care of his car and ran it for a long time. He scored big points with us, and we knew she had a keeper if he was willing to do that, because he knew that not spending a lot of money on cars could have a big impact someday. So if you look at the difference between overspending on cars, example, buying old or used versus new, the averages are around $250 to $300 a month. If you add that up over the course of your lifetime, again, that's about $250,000 more that you could have in your retirement savings. The 8th big mistake is carrying debt into your 50s. Now, it's probably impacted by these first 7 mistakes. The things that you do with your spending probably impacts your debt into all the way into your 50s. The average American has about $100,000 of consumer debt and about $5,000 in credit card debt, which is a very high interest rate. These are killers for being able to retire. Our belief is that if you can be debt-free by age 45, and that includes a mortgage and everything, that you can spend those final working years to really save for retirement and prepare yourself to go into retirement. Currently, over half of all retirees enter retirement with debt, and that is just a bad position to start off your golden years, is owing debt. So if you can get debt-free by age 45, that's fantastic. Now for the grand total. If you add up all these mistakes, it comes out to about $1.5 million using fairly conservative estimate here. Now, even if you think I'm a bit high on my estimate and we reduce it, say, by 20% on every one, it's still over $1 million that impacts your retirement savings. And if you remember back to some of my other videos, $1 million in savings using a rule of 25 is about $40,000 of income each year in retirement. So this is a big deal. If you can delay some gratification of some of these spending throughout your life, you can have a much better retirement life. So in our current retirement life, we have no boat or other expensive toys. We have no home, no second home, no cars, no state income taxes, no credit card debt, no debt of any kind, and our kids are independent. And guess what? We are having the time of our life traveling the world. We're currently in the Balkans, and it is simply amazing. So if you want to follow along and you like this kind of content, be sure to hit subscribe. This is kind of our side hustle, and it really helps us out. And be sure to leave a comment. If you think we missed something or you have something to add about one of the mistakes that I mentioned, we'd love to hear from you, and it helps our other viewers. So we'll see you next week. Be sure to hit subscribe and follow along on our retirement journey around the world.